Okay, well, how many years does it take you to obtain a doctorate degree? 8 years to get a master's. 12 years to get a doctorate. Well, how many years does it take you to become a doctor? If you want to become a doctor, it will take you a long time. Understand this. Understand this. There's never an end. There is never an end to your training or your learning. There's never an end. So understand, it takes 12 years to get a doctorate degree, 8 years to get a master's degree. But everybody want to just jump into ministry and start doing ministry. It can't happen. It's not. It don't work. It doesn't work that way. When you jump into ministry and you have not had the proper training or teaching, it ain't gonna work. Ministry requires extensive training. What's going on today with the new millennials are young people and old people. Everybody looks at ministry as a glamorous thing. Just glamorous. Take my advice. You don't want to be no pastor. The greatest ministry, and most of you in here today, you're not gonna want it because it doesn't sound big enough. It don't sound like something that is at the top. We don't like in between. We want the glamorous. We want the lights. We want the camera. We want the action. But not knowing the greatest ministry that anybody could ever have is being an evangelist. Understand this. You cannot be any minister or any apostle or any prophet or any evangelist or any pastor, teacher, or bishop until you first become a disciple of Christ. Understand that when you come out of a traditional church, when you come out of a traditional setting, traditional churches, traditional settings, those of you who are watching, is totally different from being in the prophetic ministry. No one believed Noah. Nobody. God told Noah that it would rain, and nobody believed in him. Sometime God will show you something. God will reveal something to you that nobody else can see it. A lot of times people will look at you like you've gone overboard or like you have lost your mind because they cannot see the vision that God has showed you. And I'm here to tell you today that it can be aggravating. People in Noah's day, they didn't see it until it came. But he warned them. He told them what God had said to him. Understand this. You will learn this about ministry. I'm going deep. People will resent you when they see you prospering and they are not, when they have the same Bible that you got. Did you hear what I said? Family, friends, or whoever, they stand back on the sideline looking at you with unbelief, asking the question, is God really doing this in your life? Just look over at somebody and give them a serious look and tell them, yeah, God is doing this in my life. So a lot of times we're preaching the same sermon. God told Noah what would happen, instructed him to build an ark to preserve his family and to preserve the animals. Noah was warning the people of God destruction was going to come, but they ignored his warning. And the Bible says they took no note until the flood came and swept them all away. How many of you hearing me? So, surviving in ministry. How do you survive in ministry? How do you survive in ministry? Because there are a lot of people who have exited themselves out from what God has called them to do. They've left ministry. I'm here to tell everybody today that ministry is a hard task. Tell your neighbor what I just said. Ministry is a hard task. Why? Because you know what you're going to do in ministry. Right? You know what it is that God wants you to do. And you know what you're going to do. But here's the problem. You don't know what them other people going to do. You don't know. You don't know who is really standing with you until you get out there into the deep. Trying to help people, you better hear me, is a job that you almost need a degree in tolerance. Trying to help people is a job. And you almost need a degree on top of that degree in tolerance. So ministry is not an easy task. Many start out in ministry and did not make it. I'm here to tell you today that only the strong will survive in ministry. Something that God said to me the other day. He says, it's not how you start. It's how you finish. It's how you end. Understand this. People who you think you've experienced it, you will experience it in ministry. People who you think are with you are not with you. In ministry, there are many challenges that you will face in ministry. How many of y'all hearing me? They come and they drain your knowledge and run out and try to start a church, and it fails. I'm going somewhere. How many years does it take for you to obtain a master's degree? It takes you 8 years to obtain a master's degree. Okay, well, how many years does it take you to obtain a doctorate degree? 8 years to get a master's. 12 years to get a doctorate. Well, how many years does it take you to become a doctor? If you want to become a doctor, it will take you a long time. Understand this. There's never an end. There is never an end to your training or your learning. There's never an end. So understand, it takes 12 years to get a doctorate degree, 8 years to get a master's degree, but everybody want to just jump into ministry and start doing ministry. It can't happen. It don't work. It doesn't work that way. When you jump into ministry and you have not had the proper training or teaching, it ain't gonna work. Ministry requires extensive training. What's going on today with the new millennials, young people and old people? Everybody looks at ministry as a glamorous thing, just glamorous. Take my advice. You don't want to be no pastor. The greatest ministry, and most of you in here today, you're not going to want it. Because it doesn't sound big enough. It don't sound like something that is at the top. We don't like in between. We want the glamorous. We want the lights. We want the camera. We want the action. But not knowing the greatest ministry that anybody could ever have is being an evangelist. You become a pastor, you got problems. I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you, when you become an apostle, you got a problem. You become a prophet, you got even more problem. But because it sounds glamorous, everybody jumps into it with no training. But you just found it out that it takes 12 years to get a doctorate. How can you do ministry without the proper training? Understand this. You cannot be any minister or any apostle or any prophet or any evangelist or any pastor, teacher, or bishop until you first become a disciple of Christ. I didn't start out as no prophet. I was ordained as a minister of the gospel. That carries responsibilities. You understand that? Understand that when you come out of a traditional church, when you come out of a traditional setting, traditional churches, traditional settings, those of you who are watching, is totally different from being in the prophetic ministry. Because when you're in tradition, you are governed by man's authority or man's doctrine or man's rule. But when you're in the prophetic ministry, you're governed by God himself. Am I making any sense here? So I didn't just get ordained one day and become a prophet. I was a minister for a long time. First, I was a disciple. I had to prove myself in following the leader. How you gonna be a preacher and you can't follow? You said, I've been in this church 24 years, but you ain't been following for 24. You're right, you've been around here. You've been around. And for those of you who don't come to church, I'm not even gonna prophesy against you. Those of you who don't come to church, Jesus said this. Jesus said about tradition people, he says, and I know I'm making a lot of preachers mad, they love me with their lips, but their hearts is far from me. They have a form of godliness, but they deny the power thereof. They don't want the power of God moving in the church. They don't want people to obtain knowledge. And I understand this. The reason why a lot of churches, they don't invite prophets or people in the fivefold ministry or people who have the fivefold ministry gifts because they're afraid. They don't understand it. Understand that the fivefold ministry gifts never was given to tear down. The fivefold ministry gifts were given to build up. He said, for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ, until we all come together in the unity of the faith. We still fighting against the unity of the faith. So many times people jump into ministry, I told you, because they just jump into it because they feel like that it's glamorous. I like the sound of I like the sound of a prophet. There's Prophet Suggs and Prophet McLaurin, so I'm a prophet too. Are you really? Who told you you was a prophet? Oh, well, God told me I'm a prophet. Well, how can you be a prophet if a prophet don't mentor you? You can't be a prophet until you've been mentored by a prophet. Understand this. When you go to understand this, if you're going to become a cardiologist, you're not going to hang out with foot doctors. They deal with the feet, toes, not hearts. Now, they know the basics of medicines. They know the basic of medicine, but they don't know how to deal with arteries in your heart. So how can you become an apostle without being mentored by an apostle? How can you become a prophet without being mentored by a prophet? Here's your homework. Read Elijah and Elisha. Hey, wait here. I'll be back. I got to go to Bethel. You going where? Bethel. Did you hear the prophet? I'm going to Bethel. You wait here. You tarry here until I get back. Well, if you going to Bethel, I'm going to Bethel too because I got to watch. I got to go to Bethel. The prophet's agenda is my agenda. Wherever the prophet going, I'm going. Not like some of y'all, when the prophet goes somewhere, you stay home, you hide. I ain't going. Okay, keep staying right there. So you already showing me that you're not ready for the prophetship. Oh, well, I tell you what, listen, you wait here, I'm headed to Jericho. Well, if you're going to Jericho, I'm going to Jericho too. Boy, why do you keep following me? What do you want? What you want from me? I want a double portion of thy spirit. I want God to use me just like he using you. So I need a double portion of that. Boy, you've asked a hard thing. But if you see me when I leave, let this mantle fall upon you. How you going to go somewhere when you won't even allow yourself to be trained? Well, understand this. Well, you know, I'm going to miss church sometimes. No, you ought to be striving for perfect attendance. Perfect attendance. Because we always understand this. We look for ways not to come to church. I tripped over the broom and, I don't know, just feel a little pain in my feet. I thought I'd stay home and prop it up tonight. Are you waiting to open the doorknob and turn it, and your left hand, well, you can't come and praise him with this one? So we are always looking, but to us, we are prophetess and we are prophets. No, you're not. You can't even allow yourself to get trained. You're not faithful enough. You're not committed enough. Like I said, from day one, I'm still moving. I'm still going. I'm still committed. I'm still faithful. I'm not looking for what night can I take off. You can't do this kind of work for God without being faithful. Hello, somebody. So you have a lot of people, they jump into the ministry because they feel like it is a glamorous thing. They've not become a disciple. They've not been trained properly. They've not gotten the teaching that they need or sit under authority so that their spirit can be trained. Now understand this. Titles in ministry will attract you. We have so many people. That's why I say, you heard me say, in this stage now, everybody is a God. We have so many people now who have become apostles. Women just as well as men. Now, can a woman become apostle? Sure, a woman can. But how can you become an apostle when you ain't had no apostolic training? You got to have apostolic training. You have to understand this. You have to understand the do's and the don'ts of ministry. The do's and the don'ts. A lot of things that I see preachers do, one of my prayer every day is, I've always prayed, God, don't let me be no bad preacher. I don't want to be no bad preacher. I want to be a good preacher. I want to be the preacher that you want me to be. That's why I hang alone. That's why I stay alone. I stay to myself. Hello? Titles attract people. Used to, everybody, people who were in the prophetic ministry, stay with me, I'm going somewhere. They left and went to the bishopship. But we are attractive. How can you be a bishop and you have no churches? I'm Bishop so-and-so. Of what? Or the everlasting apostolic final days cathedral. It sounds big, don't it? It's attractive. Ooh, I would love to go there. It's not even on paper. It's just a wording. But it sounds attractive. Do you understand? And you see people all the time. I'll go somewhere and minister. I don't know if this ever happened to you. I'll go somewhere and minister, and people will come up to me and tell me, I'm a prophet too. Okay, all right. I'm not in debate with you. I call people out too. Okay. When you say that you are a pastor, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking to those of you who are watching. What are you a pastor of? How can you jump from a disciple right to be a pastor? And see, one of the things that happen in ministry is we don't, watch this, we don't never want to get to the point where we feel like that God has given us so much revelation that we ready to be a pastor. You don't know what you're doing. It's not as, why don't you come ask me? I'll tell you, I'll save you heartache and pain. It ain't as glamorous as you think it is. But you said you've been doing it 31 years. Well, ask me how many times I want to quit. Ask me how many times I want to throw in the towel. Well, why don't you just go ahead and quit? Because I'm scared. I don't know what God will do to me. I'm going to just tell you, I flow better as a prophet on the field than I flow as a prophet in a flash, a pastor. I flow better because I didn't have the issues and the stuff. It's hard. Understand that when you say that you have an office or you operate in an office, there's a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of responsibility that come with that. So when we say that we're a prophet, that's a whole lot of responsibility that come with that, because we got to make sure that we're not saying stuff to people that God didn't tell us to say. Understand this. When I pick this microphone up, when the mic is in my hand, I have no friends. When the mic is in my hand, don't ask me what I see. Don't ask me what the Lord is saying, because you don't know what you're going to get. I don't know what I'm going to say to you at the time that I speak to you. I have no idea. I'm speaking from the Spirit of God. I'm speaking from articles of God, and it carries a lot of responsibility, because I tell people what God tells me to tell people. And if I tell you that God says that you're healed, you better believe that you're healed.